Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Abby, your host, and joining me on this journey through J.R.R. Tolkien's enchanting world of Middle-earth is my cousin and co-host, an amazing person, Ashley.
Aww.
Today, we are diving deeper into the Silmarillion, specifically exploring the final section, which is called Of the Rings of Power and the Third Age. And so, if you are new to this podcast or the Silmarillion altogether, we recommend starting from episode 1 to catch up on all our inside jokes and essential background information.
Together, we'll unravel the intricate threads of this epic tale, ensuring every name and place finds its rightful place in your memory.
So whether you're a seasoned Middle-earth explorer or
just beginning your adventure,
come with us, join us
for this captivating journey.
It's captivating.
So captivating. Let's go!
Let's go! So,
Lizzie made me promise. We have to say, "Here we go!" Like Mario.
Oh yes. Here we go. And then you have
that
to
was
say,
just for you, Lizzie.
What's the other one? What does Luigi say? We're a Luigi family. We like.
Sure.
For some reason, Fox is like Mario, me. Luigi.
Sure.
There's something Luigi says that I have to.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think he says like
okie dokie.
Yeah, okie dokie. Anyway, so if you have not heard or deducted from our lovely voices, the myth has been proven true that you can get sick from one another through the interwebs, no.
Every single time. It's not a theory at this point. It is solid fact that if I get sick, Abby gets sick.
So it goes through the proven. Waves. Conspiracy theorists out there, explain this to us. It goes through the waves when we record that if she's sick, her germs travel the sound waves and give them to me.
It's not like a hypochondriac, like we're making ourselves sick. Like our family members who have no idea that we think that this is a thing get sick first, and then it's not just us.
Yeah.
We're not crazy.
So with our forces combined, Ashley's plug nose and my gravelly voice will sound amazing on this podcast episode.
I really wanted to sing Smelly Cat for a little while just with my sexy voice.
Yeah.
Smelly cat, smelly cat.
For real though. So I was singing a Disney song or something with the kids and I could do the lower part. I was like, finally.
I was singing Reflection last night in the shower with Lizzie because we always sing Disney songs. Yeah, that lower register, I was hitting it. It was so funny. So I was recently on vacation, as you guys know, and thank you so much for your patience and understanding. Sorry, I survived. I'll just say that. But I was with a lot of children, and to yell across the way when you don't have a voice is by far one of the most frustrating. I don't know how parents of deaf children do it, because I wanted to throw things. I wanted to
they have to walk up to the child. But
I am so lazy.
You guys know this already, but I'm a soccer coach for 2 teams, and I am I had to cancel these last few practices because I'm like, I cannot. I'm trying to save myself for games tomorrow. So I'm just like, I cannot. I'm sorry. I can't coach right now because if I tried to yell at these children, I'd be like, hey,
yeah,
you go over there. And then I'd pass out. And then I cough into my Kleenex and it's blood like in the movies.
Sure. So basically, I got really, really sick on my vacation, and I texted Abby. I'm like, I am dying. I need you to put stuff on the Instagram, whatever you can, whatever time you have. And my beloved co-host, Abby, I love you so much. You posted that Mount Doom one, and I was crying laughing. I will post another picture because I literally did scale Mount Doom, you guys.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the Craters of the Moon? Did you know that I had been there?
So she was in Hawaii. That's where she was.
I was in Hawaii too. Yeah. But okay,
this was
like a back-to-back vacation with Yellowstone. Drove home. I didn't drive, but with a child, it's like you drove. And then a day at home, a day packing, and then flying to Hawaii the following morning. And then that's when I got sick. So, yeah. So there were multiple Mount Dooms then that I climbed because we drove up Haleakala, which is a volcano, but also the craters of the moon we saw on our Yellowstone trip on our way down. And it was literally like Mount Doom. I was taking all the pictures, and I'm going to post things and be like, where do you think this would be in Middle Earth? Where do you think this would be in Middle Earth?
You should have. How many people were in your party?
Which party? Which vacation?
Any of them. So you had your Yellowstone vacation. I was just thinking you should have reenacted while you were there if you have enough people in your party.
I didn't. Because
Lizzie, go be Gollum. Go, Lizzie.
Yeah. I was trying to tell people, like, did you know that Mount Doom was a nickname? It wasn't the actual name. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, no one cares.
Crazy Aunt Ashley.
Yeah, pretty much. But, okay, I was so proud of my niece. So we're randomly in the car driving, and my niece, Evie, is 7? No, she just turned 8.
She's 8, yeah.
She's 8. So she's like, Aunt Ashley, my dad said that you would like this one guy. It was in this like reading club thing. My dad said his name was Sam, but that's not what his real name was. And I'm like, say what now? She's like, yeah, his name is like Sam or something. And he like did this reading aloud book thing. It was really cool. He was a really nice guy. And I'm like, it was some kind of like online thing where the celebrities like read to the children in like a video or something. That's much as I could surmise from an 8-year-old. But yes, it was Sean Astin. And yeah. And I was like, Evie, do you know who that man was? And she goes, no, it's Sam something. I don't know. And I'm like, Evie, let me tell you the shortest version possible. Imagine you have a friend and he has to do something really, really hard. And just because you're a nice person, you agree to go with them because you're a good friend. And then at the very end, he got too tired and couldn't make it the rest of the way. So you carried that friend all the way up and you helped him finish it. You know who that friend was? Like, that was Sam. She goes, oh, he sounds like a really cool guy. I'm like, Evie, the minute you want to know more, you come to your Aunt Ashley and I will tell you all of the things.
So wait, she got read to by Sean Astin?
Not in real life. It was like a video club. I don't know. 8-year-olds.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Sign me up for that. I want
that. Yeah.
But
yeah, I got to explain very quickly who Sam was to my 8-year-old niece. And I'm like,
adorable.
If anyone ever asks you, Evie, who's the real hero? Sam? Sam! That's right!
That's right.
That's right. Okay, speaking of heroes, let's get to our story today. Because, oh man, it's getting good. Okay, so how much do you remember? Man, at this point, it was like 2 weeks ago. How much do you remember of that? Or do you want me to do the recap?
You can do the recap.
Okay. I actually had ChatGPT do the recap because I'm really curious how much I can use ChatGPT for my everyday life. I literally
Help me,
put in my outline. I'm like, put this into 10 talking points. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, how do people go to school anymore? This is just too easy.
Thank you, robot.
Yeah. Okay, so the elves are in Linden mainly. We also have Greenwood the Great, which will later be Mirkwood. Then we also have the Dunedain, or the Númenóreans. They have their kingdom in the north, which is Arnor, and in the south, called Gondor. And Sauron primarily controls his orcs and his bad guys in Mordor. With me so far.
I just listened to Stephen Colbert about him talking about this.
Oh, cool. So Sauron does have some men that he recruited over the centuries, but remember also he has some Númenóreans that did survive the destruction. So he we can't say just all Númenóreans are good, so we have to divide them into two factions. And Tolkien did call them the Black Númenóreans, but I think we decided on the Wayward Númenóreans who
Yes.
followed Sauron. Okay. And we find out that some of those Wayward Númenóreans are going to end up being some of the Nazgul or the Nine. And the Mouth of Sauron would later be from that group.
Oh,
Also,
I learned.
the- oh,
quick fact.
go.
Quick fact.
Yes.
I learned a quick fact about the Mouth of Sauron.
Yes, please.
That the reason why his mouth, it said that the reason why his mouth looked like that is because the words of Sauron are so evil it literally like decayed his mouth.
That is amazing.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Is that crazy?
So crazy. Sorry, my mind is blown. The exiles are what the Númenóreans are that are good, quote unquote, and that were like Elendil, Isildur, Anarion, and all their followers.
The one that were exiled before even the fall, right?
Right. Now, Sauron has a pretty decent army now, so he decides to attack the first Gondor outpost outside of Mordor, which we learned was Minas Ithil, which is Isildur's tower. And there he destroys the white tree of Isildur because he cannot handle
poor tree,
any
man.
white trees. But luckily, Isildur, his wife, and his sons escaped with a seedling of that white tree. And they sailed down the river Anduin, and they're going to somehow go around the entire thing to Elendil, who is in the north, to get help.
Do you think there's an
Daddy!
actual white tree, like, what's the word? Species here, like, alive in the world? Because I know that there's some white trees that are like aspen kind of things, and the wood's very white, but like, I want like a white tree, you know? That'd be awesome. I wish that they really existed.
In Yellowstone, because I was looking at all the trees in Yellowstone, they do have lots of aspens there. They're a different white tree, though, because they have like the spots on them. So I didn't see any white trees. You call them what?
Quakies, because they're called quaking aspens. That's what they're called. With the eyes. They look like eyes on the...
Oh, yeah. Okay, with you. That's very confused.
The trees are called quakies. That's what we call them.
Got it. But because of the volcanic activity in the area, the trees look so warped and Tim Burton, like spooky with branches all mangled and stuff. I took a picture of a bunch of them that I was like, this could be the white tree after it's burned, or this could be the white tree, or this. But I haven't seen a white tree in real life that is like flourishing.
Maybe someday.
Maybe. So he escapes down the Anduin, goes past his brother, Anarion, who he could have gotten help from, and just runs to his daddy. It's like if you were escaping from Florida and you wanted to run to your daddy in Washington. Like, it just made no sense.
Daddy!
Daddy! But this also gave his brother Anarion the opportunity to, rise to the occasion to show his quality. And he kicks Sauron's butt and stops his advancement into Osgiliath and pushes him all the way back to Mordor.
Whoa.
Go Anarion.
Whoa!
So,
with a sweet guitar like behind it, like wow! You get out of here, Sauron.
I'm the son, man.
Yeah, and then there's an explosion behind it, but he doesn't even look at it.
No, he doesn't even flinch. Then, because I guess the one nice thing that happened from Isildur going to his daddy was that Gil-galad and Elendil are kind of informed that Sauron's on the move. He's starting to cause trouble. So let's team up. I literally think of it as like the Power Rangers, where they like put their fists together and like, team blah blah blah, the last alliance, and they can they combine all their powers together, and they are
their forces combined.
Yes, unite against Sauron's growing power. So they all meet in Elrond's new digs of Rivendell, and they can move along from there and kind of gather armies along the way.
Okay.
The last alliance then lays siege to Mordor for 7 years, which leads to a climactic battle where, sadly, Gil-galad, Elendil, and Anarion all die fighting Sauron. R.I.P.
Okay, also, side note, they cut out a scene of Aragorn fighting Sauron.
Oh, I know. Yes.
I was like,
I would have been there for it. I've seen a lot of things where Gil-galad is in the background scenes a lot too. With Elrond. Yeah. Yeah. Could have been awesome, but no. So somehow Elendil's sword Narsil breaks on himself as he dies or falls or something. And it's with the shard hilt.
The remainder of the sword still attached to the handle.
Yes. While Sauron is down, because in the book he falls down, as Isildur cuts the one ring from his body, and Sauron's spirits then gives up his body, and he's like, I'm out of here, I'm going to go hide. And
no! I still think the best visual for me is when I think it's the last Harry Potter, or the second to last Harry Potter, where like Snape like turns into smoke kind of looking thing. Where he's like, and he just like leaves. That's what I think it looks like.
Okay, so thus began the third age of the world. And this is where we're going to start kind of piecing in some of the gaps that we maybe had from either reading just the Lord of the Rings books or the Hobbit or from watching the movies. Man, I'm so excited.
Yee!
Are you ready to have your mind blown?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're going to start the third age of the world by doing a bit of cleanup. You know, we just had a battle. We got to clean up a bit. Quote.
Clean up this mess right now.
Quote, the servants of Sauron were routed and dispersed, yet they were not wholly destroyed. And though many men turned now from evil and became subject to the heirs of Elendil, yet many more remembered Sauron in their hearts and hated the kingdoms of the West. So they didn't do the best job cleaning up.
Sauron in a locket around their
yes.
And they look at it. They're like, we'll offend you. We'll make it all right.
So I'm like, how bad were the heirs of Elendil that Sauron? They're like, I remember how nice it was with Sauron.
Yeah.
The good times. Quote, the Dark Tower, which is Barad-dûr, was leveled to the ground, yet its foundations remained, and it was not forgotten. So again, they're not doing the best job cleaning up here. Like, did they just give up? Or were they like, that's a pretty huge tower. We just had to dismantle. It took forever, man. Like, there's no possible way they could build it again. Even if we leave them the perfect starting point building blocks here, we're just going to leave that there. It's fine.
They just put all the blocks, like, down. They're like, they took it apart, but they didn't destroy anything. And they're like, it's like Legos. So you could just put it all back together. They just kept all the pieces.
I'm sure they even like sorted it for them too. Like, here's all the 2x2s and here's all
yeah.
Quote, the Númenóreans indeed set a guard upon the land of Mordor, but none dared dwell there because of the terror of the memory of Sauron, and because of the mountain of fire that stood nigh to Barad-dûr, and the valley of Gorgoroth was filled with ash. Many of the elves and many of the Númenóreans and of men who were their allies had perished in the battle and the siege, and Elendil the Tall and Gil-galad the High King were no more.
Wait, Gil-galad died? No.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, yeah.
Gil-galad and Elendil died in the same. Remember in the wrestling match?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Sad.
So I love that, like, we'll set a guard around Mordor because, no one wants to really live there because it's pretty spoopy. But, who wants to guard it first? Like, any takers? Like, you don't want to go look for orcs in this area where terrifying Sauron used to live and where his spirit is most certainly hanging out. Oh, what's that? You don't want to check out the Mountain of Fire or the Mountains of Terror where all of your friends and your hero Gil-galad and Elendil died? No? You don't want to hang out there and
any takers?
Any takers? No? So
I heard they opened a Starbucks. No?
So, not the best job cleaning up or maintaining that area, making sure nothing bad happens there again. But you know what? I bet the last alliance stayed best friends, right? You know, they bonded over war stories. They shared their trauma together. They really have bonded over this 7-year war, right?
They have friendship bracelets.
No, they did not stay friends. Quote, never again was such a host assembled, nor was there any such league of elves and men, for after Elendil's day, the two kindreds became estranged.
What?
And this makes sense, too. Like, how come there was the men and the elves weren't really friends after this? Because they're not really friends after this. The friendship between Gil-galad and Elendil was really the glue that held the alliance together. And once that's gone, and after we find out what Isildur's side of the story is, I kind of get it. Like,
yeah,
you kind of see Elrond's, like, men are weak. Like, yeah.
Not my Elrond. I think he also was like, we don't want to get caught up in this again kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to make dumb mistakes, let them make dumb mistakes on their own.
Yeah. And that's very much his attitude by the Lord of the Rings books and the movie, to be honest. So, are you ready to hear Isildur's side of the story?
It better be good. He's got a lot to make up for.
It's not.
Come on.
Lower your expectations down. Okay. So, once Isildur cut the One Ring from Sauron, Isildur took it. But, quote, Isildur would not surrender it to Elrond and Círdan, who stood by. They counseled him to cast it into the fire of Orodruin, or Mount Doom, which was nigh at hand,
into the fire,
in which it had been forged, so that it should perish and the power of Sauron be forever diminished, and he would remain only as a shadow of malice in the wilderness. So, a few interesting things here. This is our first mention in a long time of Círdan. And I'm not sure if you remember who Círdan is. Do you remember who Círdan is?
Someone important?
Yes. At this point, he's actually the oldest elf left in Middle-earth.
Oh.
Huh. Yeah. It's not written down anywhere, but they're like, he was probably one of the original, like, Cuiviénen awakening elves. He was one of the OG elves.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. But he was one of the Teleri who decided to stay in Beleriand and hang out with Osei on the shore and build awesome ships. So he's older than Galadriel. He's older than Fëanor was. Like, he's old, man. He's seen some things.
But he probably looks great. He probably looks amazing.
Yeah. He also basically raised Gil-galad because Gil-galad's dad was like, it's not safe here. I'm going to have you ruled by this really awesome guy, Círdan, in a place where it's safe. Because throughout the kind of end of the First Age, Círdan usually was like, he always was on the coast, but he always seemed to have like a safe haven. He was always kind of like keeping people safe and keeping a community of people along the ports so he could, you know, help people escape if they needed.
He knew what's up. He knew what
was up, yeah. He also plays a larger role in the books, as we will learn probably next week or the week after that. But sadly, he has very little role in the movies. Like, you don't even know. I'm not even sure if it says his name. The second interesting thing here is that I always believed that if you destroyed the One Ring in Mount Doom, Sauron would die. But after this quote, I was confused because it says like, oh, he'll, you know, laid waste, basically. So what happens to Sauron's spirit when the One Ring is destroyed? Yeah.
Does it go to that special prison that his mentor's in?
So that's kind of what I was wondering too. So I went to the Google, and the best explanation for what I found at GameRant.com. And this is what he said. Quote, in short, the most accurate answer is no. Like, Sauron doesn't die. There is a difference between physical death and spiritual death in Middle-earth, especially when it comes to the most ancient race of beings like the Maiar, which is the race to which Gandalf the Grey and Sauron both belong. According to the Silmarillion, the Maiar are spirits who have been around since Ilúvatar created the universe, and their core exists outside of the laws of time and space. untethered to a concrete being. Gandalf is a good example of how this sort of spirit may linger when a body is damaged, as he is able to return to Middle-earth as Gandalf the White after he dies at the hands of the Balrog. He does die, but his essence doesn't completely vanish from the world. Similarly, with Sauron, his essence is thrust out of its form during the fall of Numenor, and when the ring is sundered from his finger and he is subsequently defeated, quote-unquote, in battle. But both times he is able to remain because a part of his spirit is tied to the ring. Now, when Frodo throws the ring into the mountain, the ring is finally gone for good. Therefore, Sauron also falls. However, in The Return of the King, Gandalf explains that when the One Ring is vanquished, Sauron will be, quote, maimed forever, becoming a mere spirit of malice that gnaws itself in the shadows, but cannot again grow or take shape. So a great evil of this world will be removed. Thus, Sauron is not exactly dead, but his power is drained to the point of never being able to return. So it's thought that he might be sent into the Shadow Realm, where the characters go when they put on the Ring of Power. But unlike the Ring Wraiths, he won't be able to touch things or wield weapons like they can when they stab Frodo on Weathertop. Like, he can't harm any other living thing again.
He's a ghost.
He's a ghost in that Shadow Realm.
Shadow Realms.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so... Okay.
So, sorry for the side quest. I had that thought. Like, I always thought he just died. But Myers can't die. Although, which brings me to the question of, well, did the Balrog die?
And also, did Saruman die?
I don't think Saruman died. Oh, in the movie. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. In the book, he doesn't die. So, it's kind of confusing. But anyways, back to Isildur being a greedy jerkface. Quote, But Isildur refused this counsel, saying, "This I will have as weregild," or compensation, "for my father's death, and my brother's. Was it not I that dealt the enemy his death blow?" Like,
was it?
Did he die, though? And also, like, does it count as a death blow if you just cut off a finger? Like, I think that's a pretty over-exaggeration of the word death blow.
I killed him. I
gave him a paper cut. But
you are so ferocious. Look at you.
And I really wish they gave us the death count because... I mean, the only thing we can really see as a visual is the dead marshes in The Lord of the Rings. If that is any idea of what it must have been a lot. I mean, how many other brothers and fathers died as well? Like, come on, Isildur, you're not the only one. Also, a quick side note here. If you are to Google the word weregild, a picture pops up that is an amazing definition of the word. I did email it to you. And I find it hilarious, and I wanted to share.
Okay, okay. I'm ready.
And you have to explain what's happening in this picture.
So, there's a person laying down, being chopped with an axe.
A huge axe.
Yeah. This is like a 14th century painting, so it's like very, what is the word?
Primitive?
Primitive looking, yeah.
But I find it funny the guy has stripes on his clothes. But anyways.
And then there's people by them who are, is he being paid?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He's like, here you go. Here's some gold coins. Thank you for murdering. Thank you for choosing Murders Are Us.
But like, look at I'm sorry. Just like the proportions are just so horrible.
He looks like he's being murdered by a child. Like he looks like he's slain, cut down by a 5-year-old.
Yes. But the father Mother, I don't know. The hands are enormous. I don't know what's up with that left foot or right foot. There's so many things happening in this picture that I had to share it. So, anyways, that is the definition of weregild, in case you wanted to know.
Say it one more time in words. The definition is
basically compensation for a death.
So does he get less money because he only did chopped off his finger?
You only get to look at the ring. You don't get to keep it. You get to name it. But here's where we get to like one hint that the one ring is like trickier than they think because, quote, and the ring that he held seemed to him exceedingly fair to look on, and he would not suffer it to be destroyed. So this isn't coming from Isildur's like perspective necessarily. This is about him. So for the writer to say he really thought the ring was pretty, you can't even imagine what Isildur was saying or doing that the writer was like, yeah, I should write that down. That seems
it's very
out here. It's very obvious.
It's very obvious.
So
maybe he was the first person to call it the precious.
Maybe. So he takes the ring and he goes back to his brother Anarion's tower. And there he plants the seedling that he had fled Minas Ithil with in honor of his brother's valiant death in battle.
Okay. So he's doing some good things, but...
Yes. Yeah. So this newest white tree is given a confusing nickname. Remember, the white tree that just was destroyed was the white tree of Isildur. You would think this would be called the white tree of Anarion, since it's in honor of Anarion. But no, this one gets the white tree of the Eldar.
What?
Which is technically who they got the original tree from, but so was like every other tree before that. So I don't get your logic there. Anyways, this new white tree is planted, and then he has a talk with his nephew, Anarion's son, who we get to meet for the first time. So his name is
Josh.
Sorry?
What?
Meneldeal. Meneldeal. And Deal is devoted, remember? And Meneldeal is devoted to the heavens.
Aww.
So, of course, I had to do the math because I'm like, I always think they're like children. I don't know why. So, Meneldeal was born in the year, in case you want to know, 3299 in the Second Age on Numenor, which means during the downfall of Numenor, he would have been about 20 years old. Okay. Not a ton is known about him, but he probably did help build up the kingdoms of the Dunedain, and he most likely took part in the Battle of the Last Alliance. He was about 141 years old by the time his father dies, and since the battle has ended, that was the beginning of the Third Age. It has taken 2 years for Isildur to get to this point. So he is now 144 years old. The math works out, just trust me. So Isildur at this time is giving his 144-year-old nephew the southern kingdom of Gondor. He's like, you know what? Elendil's dead. Your father's dead. Northern kingdom was ruled by Elendil, the father, and the southern kingdom was ruled by Isildur and Anarion. So since Elendil is gone, I'm going to take the northern kingdom, and you are going to take the southern kingdom.
So he's like 150, right? Like that's what you said, like 140.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Meneldeal is, yeah.
The common age of death was like the 500s, right?
Depending on how much trouble was stirring, yeah.
Yeah.
300. I'd say like 300 is more what I see.
Because they got less and less because they were being naughty. And so they got like, what is it? Demerits of age. And so they're like,
right. Well, and they're also like, they're blending with other families and other lines that don't have the long life genes. So it's just slowly kind of watering down over time.
All right.
So with Meneldeal now in charge of the southern kingdom of Gondor, Isildur is now, he's like, okay, you got this here? You got it? All right. I'm now going to take my awesome, beautiful, precious ring, and I'm going to make it the heirloom of my house. And I'm going to head north, and I'm going to start my rule. It's going to be awesome. You got it? You got a nephew?
Yeah.
Okay. So Isildur is about to cross over the Misty Mountains when an army of orcs ambush him. Quote, and they descended upon him at unawares in his camp between the Greenwood, or Mirkwood, and the Great River, Anduin. For he was heedless and set no guard, deeming that all his foes were overthrown. Like, you dumb.
He was like, nobody can touch me. I'm amazing. Yeah. I did all this hard work.
Yep. Yep. And I was thinking about this, like, call the orcs dumb as much as you want, but if you saw your master get taken down in battle by this one dude, because I'm sure it was like a big scene that everyone was kind of watching at that point, and he took his favorite ring, don't you think you would have kept an eye on that guy and followed him and tried to get it back?
You got to give him credit.
Got to give him credit.
Job done. They get the job done.
Quote, there well nigh all his people were slain, and among them were his 3 elder sons, Isildur, devoted to the stars, Aratan, high man, Kirion, ship. Sorry. But his wife and his youngest son, Valandil, devoted to the powers, he had left in Lodris, or Rivendell, when he went to the war. So in other words, before the Battle of the Last Alliance, when everyone was meeting up in Rivendell, Isildur was there too, because remember, he had to run to his daddy Elendil for help. And that is where he left Valandil and his wife, while Isildur and his other sons went on to the battle.
Okay, so how young was this kid?
Okay, that was exactly my thought too, because I thought, oh, wow, that was actually very smart of Isildur to like save his line. You know, I've got 4 sons. Let's at least leave one here just in case something should happen in the battle. But then I started doing the math. So Valandil was born in the Second Age of 3430. The Last Alliance met up in Rivendell in 3431. So Valandil was just a year old.
Oh.
So Isildur was like, I don't want to bring no baby to battle. Which is also kind of smart, but also like, I also feel it's like, he just didn't want to, that sounds like a lot of work, you know? Yeah. Traveling with a newborn is the worst, so let's not do that. But continuing the math here.
Stop the battle. He dropped his pinky. Everybody, no, stop. We got to look for it. Please. He's just going to be a mess without it. Nap time. Oh my gosh. Ruined. And then like later on, like the baby's like sleeping and he's like, the orcs are like yelling and the drums of the cave trolls. And he's like, hey, keep it down. Come on. And they're like,
it's like,
okay. Like the orcs and the cave trolls like comply. They're like, oh, sorry. I can. We'll stop.
Or it's like, did you ever see the movie? Well, I know you saw the movie Storks, when they like the baby's sleeping, so they like still battle, but they like don't make noise, and then like they like one of them accidentally like stubs their toe, and they like put their mouth or their face into like a pillow and scream.
Yeah, it's like that.
So continuing the math though. The War of the Last Alliance ends in 340-41, which would leave Valandil to be 11 years old. And remember, Isildur kind of does his things and gets the ring and goes to Anarion's tower. That takes about 2 years. So now Valandil's about 13.
Does he stop by and say hello to his wife and child? Does he also tell his wife, hey, your other kids didn't make it? Or they won't make it in the beginning or when they all die?
No. Because, so the battle took place, and I don't know what he was doing for 2 years. That took, maybe it was a lot of paperwork. I don't know. So Anarion's tower was pretty close to where the battle was, and then Isildur headed northwest. So he still hasn't seen his wife yet.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's when they die. So,
good guy there.
Yeah. So Valandil is about 13 years old when his father and brothers die.
Oh, so he was a baby.
Yeah. Anyways, like in the extended scene of the movie, though, Isildur doesn't die quite right off the bat. Quote, Isildur himself escaped by means of the ring, for when he wore it, he was invisible to all eyes. But the orcs hunted him by scent and slot until he came to the river and plunged in. There the ring betrayed him and avenged its maker, for it slipped from his finger as he swam, and it was lost in the water. Then the orcs saw him as he labored in the stream, and they shot him with many arrows, and that was his end.
Ugh. Man, okay. Tolkien gives these such epic characters such really lame ways to die.
And, like, what a humiliating death. Like, can you imagine it? And it says, what is it? As he labored in the stream. So he's like trying, I imagine he's kind of like Little John when he's like, I can't swim! Like,
Yeah.
freaking out. And that is how he dies. Like, it's not like, is it
The orcs
epic?
are just like staring at him for a while, like, come on, guy. Put him out of his
Just
misery.
stand
Put him
up.
out of his misery.
Yeah. But
I can't watch this anymore.
Something we don't get to see in the movie, though, is luckily not everyone died. Quote, only 3 of his people came ever back over the mountains after long wandering, and of these, one was Oktar, his esquire, to whose keeping he had given the shards of the sword of Elendil.
Oh.
Like, now
Nice.
that is a good squire. Like, you just know he survived because his lord and master entrusted him with the shards of Narsil, and he was not going to let him down. Not even in death. He's like, I'm going to do it, master, for you.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good squire.
Yeah. Right. Apparently, all I could find out about his name was that it literally means, like, soldier or warrior. So he doesn't get as much credit.
Properly named.
Like, but what if he wanted to be a musician? What if he was like the
I just want to sing.
Yes.
No singing. I could see Isildur doing that. Like, no. Be quiet.
So it doesn't say if good old Oktar was the one to deliver the shards of Narsil to his master's son, Valandil, in Rivendell, but I'd like to think it was him.
Mm-hmm. His last, and then he got to relax and live in Rivendell because he's such a good squire.
Right.
And he looked after the lady of the kingdom.
Oh, I'm sure he looked after her. Quote. Anyway, sorry. She deserved better than Isildur anyway. Quote. Thus Narsil came in due time to the hand of Valandil, Isildur's heir in Abladris. But the blade was broken, and its light was extinguished, and it was not forged anew. And Master Elrond foretold that this would not be done until the ruling ring should be found again, and Sauron should return. But the hope of elves and men was that these things might never come to pass.
They had doubted it. They had no faith.
Yeah. But, I really think that Elrond's like, I don't really want to reforge that sword. That sounds like a lot of work. I'm going to make it a nearly impossible. I'm not going to do it until the ruling ring is found. Because that sounds really hard. And Sauron comes back.
Something else. And Sauron comes back. Yeah. Write that down.
Yeah. It's like, I will take you to Disneyland if you read 1,000 books. Really?
Yeah. And something else.
Something else, yeah.
Mow 100 lawns.
Yeah. So Valandil took up the North Kingdom of Anor, and he ruled in the capital city of Annúminas, just like his grandpa Elendil did. Quote, but his folk were diminished, and of the Númenóreans and of the men of Eriador, there remained now too few to people the land or to maintain all the places that Elendil had built.
Huh.
All right, so we're going to look at too few people. They don't. Yeah, I know. My Google Docs had an issue with it too, but Tolkien does what he wants. So we're going to look at the map of the North and South Kingdoms of the Dunedain.
All right.
So if you look at it, and if you remember kind of where the towers are, like Gondor, I mean, it shows that little bit on the left, but it's mainly that little circle near the Anduin. That's mainly where Gondor's at. So it's pretty close together. It's kind of surrounded on the mountains that, border Mordor. It's got the water on the other side. It's pretty close. Now, Arnor, it does have some mountains in there, but it's pretty spread out, to be honest. It's a lot larger. So you can kind of see how the North Kingdom could fall apart.
There wasn't a lot of communication.
Yeah. And it's hard to protect when you're so spread out like that too. It's hard to, get resources to people. I imagine, the ambulance response time was pretty bad. Internet connection must have been real spotty. So, I mean,
there's a lot of food deserts.
Oh, yeah.
Not a good enough grocery stores.
No, yeah. So, quote, the Dunedain of the North became divided into petty realms, and lordships and their foes devoured them one by one. Ever they dwindled with the years until their glory passed, leaving only green mounds in the grass.
So,
did you have the same thought I did?
Yes.
Okay.
In Rohan?
No.
What? The green mounds of Rohan?
But Rohan is in the south. We're in the north right now. So, it's many years passed from Valandil to this point. There's 7 different kings that happen. The last king where the Northern Kingdom just completely falls apart, his name, in case you wanted to know, is Erendur, which means servant of the sea for some reason, because he's not really
cool
in the sea, but whatever. But let's look at the map of the North Kingdom. So we're in Arnor. Now, look at that. Okay. Now let's look at the map of Middle Earth as we know it. Do you see any overlapping areas? So Eriador on the Middle Earth map is kind of where the North Kingdom was, right?
Uh-huh.
What's right next to it that we talk a lot about in the future books?
The Shire is in the middle.
Now, what do you need to make hobbit holes?
Hills?
Or mounds?
Mounds of green?
Yeah. So it's just my thought. What if they're literally building on, the graves of the North Kingdom?
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
I mean, if you were to take a flat land and be build a hobbit hole, you're no, I need a hill. I need a mound. But what if they got to this land and all these mounds? What are we going to do? I can't build a house on this mound. What if we build into the mound and build hobbit holes? So maybe the North Kingdom's mound remnants is how the hobbit holes got their characteristic hobbit holes.
Did all those bodies create really good fertilizer, and that's why all their gardens are amazing?
Heck yes, they did. Yep. See, you're with me. I like it. So that's just my theory. I have nothing to back that up, but I found the term mounds of grass very interesting there, and it just made me think. Anyways, so back to the remains of the North Kingdom. Quote, "At length naught was left of them but a strange people wandering secretly in the wild, and other men knew not their homes nor the purpose of their journeys, and save in Imladris in the house of Alrond, their ancestry was forgotten."
Do that genealogy work. Come on.
Elrond's the only one who cares. He's the only one with the Ancestry.com account.
Yeah, he's rich enough.
Yep. But I find it interesting that they became such a secretive and like wild bunch of men. Like they didn't try and form together one last big strong city in the north, or just head south and join the other Dunedain and Gondor. But the fact that the realms were split into literally what's referred to as petty realms, like that's not a very good sign for the camaraderie of this people.
And you live in a petty realm. Ugh.
Yeah.
Do you guys even have what is it? What would be something like, do you guys just only have a Walmart there? You guys don't even probably have a Costco.
So speaking of Gondor, quote, "In the south, the realm of Gondor endured, and for a time its splendor grew, until it recalled the wealth and majesty of Númenor ere it fell. High towers the people of Gondor built, in strong places and havens of many ships, and the winged crown of the kings of men was held in awe by people of many lands and tongues."
So that's why his crown looks like that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I also find it interesting, if you think of Anarion, all we got to learn about Anarion is that he chose to kick butt at that one time and that he's the sun's son. But his heirs did way better than Isildur's heirs, who Isildur ended up being kind of petty, kind of selfish, just saying.
Common theme in this book. A little bit of a common theme.
And just in case you forgot, Tolkien wants to remind you, again, how awesome that white tree was. Quote, "For many a year the white tree grew before the king's house in Minas Anor. The seed of that tree which Isildur brought out of the deeps of the sea from Númenor, and the seed before that came from Avalone, and before that from Valinor, and the day before days when the world was young."
Ooh. So
that's where I'm going to leave you today. It's a really cool tree.
The great grandbaby tree.
Yes.
It has a family tree of the tree.
Yes. I love that. That is amazing.
It's like a beautiful tapestry of like, instead of pictures, it's like seeds, like seedlings.
Yes. Oh, I bet that. Oh, man. Tolkien would have loved that.
I know. Adorable.
Well, that's all I got for you today.
Wow. Okay, so now I need to watch the extended versions of The Lord of the Rings, so watch the beginning again and see all the things that were mentioned.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast. Become a patron and join our Patreon at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast. You can join our dwarf friend of the Shire, Dan, and our elf friends of the Shire, Chris, Shane, and Tom. Thank you guys so much for your support. We really appreciate it. It really means a lot.
It does.
Please rate us on whatever platform you listen to your podcast on. We did get a new Spotify rating. Thank you for whoever did that. Abby.
What?
There has been so much happening in the world rankings because it's been like 2 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, are you ready to hear what happened?
World domination?
World domination. Okay. The UK is officially now kicking Australia's butt. I'm not sure how you feel about that, Australia. They're up to 2% on you now. And are you going to stand for that? That's all I'm going to say. Spain took over Thailand. I'm not sure what kind of food that would make. That sounds like a really disgusting combination of food.
What are you talking about? That sounds amazing. I'm here for it.
Slovenia took back Ireland. Ireland, did your bagpipes, did you run out of breath? What happened there? I need to know. Did your Irish dancing legs, did you get a cramp in your legs? What happened? Do you need more Guinness? I need to know.
You guys are a mighty people. I know you can do this.
But also, you know what?
I'm not sad.
Props to Sylvania.
Everybody, yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sad because that just means more people are listening. And so,
yeah,
it's a good thing.
Finland. Where'd you come from, Finland? You rose like 4 places. I'm so proud of you, Finland. You Finnish people. We also got 2 new countries. Oh, and sorry, and Iceland has moved up the ranks too. You go, Iceland. You beautiful country that I want to visit one day.
Yes. Okay,
right.
I'm going to guess.
Are you ready for these 2 new countries?
I'm going to guess the continent.
Okay, I don't know where one of the continents is, though.
Oh. One of them is in South America, and one of them's in Asia.
Okay, one of them is in Asia. I have no idea about the other one.
What's the other one? Okay, so what's the Asian one?
Taiwan.
Okay. Hey, Taiwan.
Hey,
Good to have you here.
The other one, I'm going to literally Google it up now. The Dutch East Indies. Where are you, Dutch East Indies? Where are you located?
Dutch East Indies?
Where are you? Oh, it's like asking me about companies. You're not in the Netherlands. I mean, I know that's Dutch, but that's not. I'm so confused, but wherever you are, we appreciate you being here. I appreciate you guys coming and listening and all of your support. It means a lot.
It does.
It does. Well, until next week. Oh,
it's like the Philippines, kind of.
I thought so. I'm like, it's not actually like in. Yeah, I want to say Dutch, but that's not the right word.
No, it's like near. It says, what countries are in the Dutch East Indies? The Republic of Indonesia, Greater Sunda Islands, Borneo, Celebes, Java, Sumatra, Bali. The places I want to go. That's where we got to go.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like we have a friend already. So we're good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Expect our phone
they're
call
like
soon.
the gorgeous areas part of the world.
Oh. Well, send us pictures, Dutch East Indies listener. We'd love to
and where
see
are you
all
from?
The different parts of the world.
What country are you from?
Yeah. Must be nice.
Well,
also, make sure to join our Patreon because you guys, we are getting so close to the end of this book. Like, we're like 1 or 2 episodes away. Like, I can feel it. So join our Patreon if you want in on our ultimate trivia bonus episode content things.
Yeah.
We will figure out what it is very shortly. Finalize what it is. But it's going to be awesome.
Maybe it'll be different for each person.
Maybe someone wants to challenge us to a Disney one. I mean, I don't know. Bring it.
Bring it.
All right. Okay. Well, until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I've been Abby. And this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast. And we're so glad you're here. We hope you join us next time. Bye.
Bye.